What's going on, Main Street America business? Hopefully this video finds you and your family and everyone healthy. Um, I know it's been another week of a lot of questions, not a lot of answers, but hopefully this video will help you, give you some answers. Here we go. Let's get right down to it. We're going to cover a couple things: the EIDL process, where that's at, the 3P program, what I call the 3P program now, which is the Paycheck Protection Plan or program, excuse me, short-term funding, and in general, what you should be doing right now, what to make of all the craziness, and what is the actual path you should take. So I'm going to give you 3 steps to take. If you haven't done them already, this is the definite way to at least ensure that you've done everything you could possibly do to make sure that your business is taken care of, your employees are still employed, and that you still have a business to come back to when things open up. So, number 1, the EIDL program is still extremely backlogged. Just to give you an example, if you applied when they first opened up, which is the week of the 16th of March, you might have been already funded early April on those. So those loans, before everything was, went from the first application process to then the site crashing with the upload documents, and then the third version, which is the version we're on now, which is the expedited app or the short app. If you applied for the week of the 16th, somewhere in that range of that week, you should have already been funded or should be pretty close if you provide all your documents, everything else. If you applied after that, you hit the critical mass wall of all the applicants. So, for example, by the 26th of March, there was more than several million apps in place, and they were given an estimated time of, at that point, 60 to 80 days for the apps to be processed. That also means that the $10,000 grant that was originally included in that, that's not coming in 2 to 3 days. So to clear that up, that's 2 to 3 days after your application is reviewed and possibly approved. But still, the grant is supposed to be regardless of whether you actually are approved for the loan. It's supposed to be in advance, and again, that is forgivable or forgiven. So the EIDL loan process is still the broadest loan base that gives you the most opportunity to pay things. But at this point, our best guess, because they're not giving us the real numbers now, and when you call in to talk to anybody, even the directors, everything else, nobody can really give you guidance, because how many people that they have actually doing it. There are millions of applications. There were more than 2 million applications as of the week of the March 26th. So you can only imagine what it's like now. And so processing those applications is a massive undertaking. So the EIDL loan process, that's where it's at. If you're calling in to check on your approval for the EIDL loan, you can still expect call queues of 1,500 to 1,800 people. You can still expect call times of about 2.5 hours minimum. If you're calling for the first time to get help with an application, you'll still get somebody right away to get help. But remember, they don't know anything about the process. They don't know anything about the process after you apply, and they don't really know a lot about the forms or the things specific to your business. They just have about between 30 and probably 80 now different expected responses or questions you'll have that they can actually speak to. Other than that, that's it. They don't know that much stuff. They're not CPAs, they're not accountants. That's not what they do. They're a third party hired by the federal government to help offload some of the assistance in doing this. So again, that's the snapshot on the EIDL side. And on the grant side, unfortunately, that's probably the slowest boat out of all of this. So the 3P program, which was launched Friday this last week, so not today, but a week ago today, that was more like somebody kicked out of a train that was moving full speed ahead, and as we all know, it did not land very well. There was a debacle at the beginning with the larger banks, and the only thing I'll speak to on that is there's 2 sides to every coin. Whichever side you agree with, no matter what, it's something that we just have to work through. On one hand, you've got banks who looked at the whole thing and said, well, if somebody's already doing business with me and they've already got a loan and a credit card, then it's easier for me to work with them because it makes sense. I've already got the information. There's less risk. There's less chance of fraud. So it makes sense for me as a bank. And plus, I can likely expedite the process because they're a known entity to me. So they took that position when they were attacked because it appears, and again, I don't know the real answer here. We can only take it for what we see, and in the end, we'll know later on. But it appeared as somewhat of a one-sided motivation for them to hold on to that and only take applications from people who had a line of credit, a credit card, or some other debt with them besides just account holders. You had people that were account holders 20 plus years that the bank basically stiffed them and said, no, we're not going to take you as an applicant. You don't qualify. And what they don't realize, whether they're looking at it or not, is what that says to the general public is we're going to protect our assets, meaning that if somebody has a loan, let's say I'm a business owner and I have a $2 million debt to, say, one of the big three, and that debt is, it's on their books. If I fail, then that's something that's on their books. So by them subsidizing me first as an account holder and somebody who has that debt, they're serving their interest in that scenario and making sure that that debt's covered by the United States of America, taxpayer dollars, everything else. So what are you going to say about that? No matter what it is, it didn't work well for everybody that needs help. It was an unnecessary thing for us to all go through, and a lot of people got turned away. During the course of this week, a lot of smaller banks have really picked up, and they've done a phenomenal job. Regional banks, local banks, any of these FDIC insured entities that have taken on the 3P program and moved forward with it have done a fantastic job. And right now we're referring people to some of those regional banks just for that specific reason, because they're doing a great job, much better capable of handling it. But the one expectation you should have in filling that out and replying is, look, most of these banks at least want to have some sort of relationship with you, so you can expect that they're going to want you to at least open up an account, a depository account, to have that business with them. And look, in all fairness, as a small business of any size, if you've got a bank that you're reaching out to that's not your current bank, like say one of the big threes or somebody else, and these smaller regional banks or whomever it is that you go to for this loan and they do it, I mean, it's safe to say it's fair that they would ask you to, have a depository account at least. But I would say and suggest that, give them a shot. It's a bigger chunk of your business as well, because if they're willing to take a risk now of some sort to work with you when your bank or the other people you've gone to haven't, it's worth a shot. So, but as far as the 3P program is working right now, we've had people that have applied even as early as last week, got approved, and the funding time is 4 to 5 days on average. So that program for these regional banks or smaller banks is performing much better. Some of the larger ones still have the same issue, which is the volumes are large. They're they still have to staff accordingly. They still have to underwrite accordingly. So it's extremely difficult for them. And don't get me wrong, as this is pushed down to smaller or regional banks, they've got to ramp up as well, but it does spread out the demand across a bigger supply chain. So just think about it that way. So the 3P program is getting better, but here's the deal. Nothing is going to give you money now. So if you're a small business owner and you're looking for that lifeline right now, if you haven't already done it, these are the 3 things you should do. Number 1, apply for short-term capital. So like, for example, on our site, disasterloanassistance.com, we offer short-term capital. We also offer the ability to do or apply through the 3P program for a local regional bank that's near you. We also assist with the EIDL loans. Now, we don't get paid for that, and there's no promotion there of any sort. It's just something that we provide to people to help, because it's still a difficult task to navigate. But at the end of the day, you should look for short-term capital. If you need to be funded within 24 to 48 hours or sometime this week coming up, you need to look at that. Still apply for the EIDL, still apply for the 3P, because you can have both. you can actually apply for the EIDL and the 3P. There were some questions this last week as to whether that was the case. Typical underwriting for the SBA says that you don't have an application for another loan out there. That is waived due to the CARES Act. It also means that you can have multiple SBA loans, but you cannot use them for the same purpose. So if you're using the 3P for payroll for this month, you can't take the EIDL if you got funded this month and apply it to payroll this month, especially along the lines of forgiveness. So that's a quick recap and update. So the 3 things you need to do, if you haven't done them already: apply for short-term capital so you get money right now to cover paying vendors. If you need supplies, things like that, you need to get some short-term capital. The next thing is make sure you're applying for the EIDL. You can still go to the SBA.gov website and apply for that. And then definitely apply for the 3P. It doesn't matter whether you go through our site at disasterloanassistance.com or if you go through your local regional bank or your small town bank. It doesn't matter. I still don't recommend the larger banks just because of the time frame, and there's still people getting turned away for multiple different reasons. But with any of those, make sure that you have your corporate docs. Make sure that you have your corporate docs ready. Make sure you have your EIN. Make sure you have your payroll documentation, whether it's W-3s or quarterly payroll reporting. You need to have that documentation ready when you apply. And listen, you're applying for a loan, so make sure that you have a copy of your government issued ID. Make sure you have a statement of officers and ownership. So just think about it from that perspective. Use some good common sense. Make sure that you're taking care of that, so that when you do apply, it's fast. So if you have any questions or need any help, please don't hesitate to let us know. You can comment below the video, or you can give us a call on our website. It's disasterloanassistance.com. You can go there, pick up the phone, call us. You'll get live people that can help you. No matter what it is you're trying to do, they can help you with the EIDL, they can help you with the 3P, or if you need short-term funding, you can do it that way. But at the end of the day, I hope again that this finds you safe, and hopefully you and your family are well. In the meantime, stay focused, and remember that when the market opens back up, you need to be ready, you need to be prepared. So again, think about what you're going to do now and moving forward to ensure that you have a business to come back to, and also to be ready to take that market share, because there's going to be businesses in your vertical that haven't kept their market share, and it's a perfect time for you to grow your business and to get out there and push forward and be even more successful than you were before. Listen, until I talk to you again next time, stay safe, stay well, and stay healthy.